So every single business, I don't care if it's a brand new startup or a giant Fortune 500 company, it all comes down to a really simple engine, right? You got to sell enough stuff to cover your costs and hopefully make a profit. But how do you know the exact moment that engine actually roars to life? Well, today we're going to pop the hood and look at the dashboard for that engine. It's called Cost Volume Profit Analysis, or CVP. And trust me, this isn't just some boring accounting exercise. It's a killer framework for turning raw numbers into a real strategic roadmap.
So, picture this. You've got it all. The amazing product, you've got the passion, the business plan is all mapped out. But those huge questions are still hanging in the air, aren't they? Like, when exactly does this thing stop just burning through cash and actually start making money? How many widgets do I really need to sell just to keep the lights on? And what's the magic number to hit our actual profit goals? This is where CVP analysis comes in. It's the tool that's built to give you stone-cold, data-driven answers to those exact questions.
Okay, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with what CVP analysis actually is. Then we'll take apart the engine and see what makes it tick. After that, we get practical and calculate the break-even point. Then we'll aim even higher and use CVP to hit specific profit goals. And finally, we'll cover the fine print, the stuff you absolutely have to know to use this tool right. Let's jump in.
All right, let's kick things off with the path to profitability. I mean, before we can use any tool, we've got to know what it is, right? And CVP, it's so much more than just crunching numbers for your accountant. Think of it like a strategic lens. It's the thing that brings the real financial mechanics of your business into crystal clear focus.
So what is it really? At its heart, CVP analysis is all about the relationship between three huge levers in your business: your costs, how much you sell, that's your volume, and of course your profit. And the real magic here is the ripple effect. It shows you that if you pull one lever, say you find a way to lower a cost, you can see exactly how that impacts everything else. It's really about getting a deep understanding of how your profit engine actually works.
And this is why it's such a game changer for making smart short-term decisions. You know those questions that keep you up at night? Should we dump money into that new marketing campaign? Is it worth buying that fancy new machine that lowers our labor cost a little bit? CVP gives you the power to actually run the numbers and see if these moves make sense. It basically takes all that guesswork and turns it into a real calculated strategy.
Okay, so to really get how CVP works, we've got to look under the hood. It really just comes down to a couple of core parts, but when you put them together, that's when you get some amazing insights. So let's deconstruct this engine.
This right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. The entire game of profitability, at least in the CVP world, hangs on one single, super powerful idea: the contribution margin. Seriously, if you get this one concept, you've pretty much cracked the code on CVP.
So what on earth is it? Okay, let's make it super simple. Imagine you sell something for $10. Now the variable costs, the stuff that changes with each sale, like raw materials or sales commission, let's say that's $6. The contribution margin is the $4 that's left over. Now, and this is key, that is not profit. Not yet. That's the cash that contributes to paying for all your fixed costs, the rent, the salaries, all that stuff that you have to pay no matter what. After you've paid off all those fixed costs, then every single dollar of contribution margin you make is pure, beautiful profit.
And we can look at this in two ways. There's the per unit amount, that $4 from our example. That's cool for small-scale decisions. But for the big picture strategic view, the contribution margin ratio is way, way more powerful. And it's just the contribution margin divided by the sales price. So in our case, $4 divided by $10 gives us a ratio of 40%. And here's why that's so important. It tells you that for every single dollar that comes in the door from sales, 40 cents is immediately available to chip away at your fixed costs and then start building profit. This ratio, honestly, it's the master key to this whole thing.
Okay, now that we've got a handle on contribution margin, we can finally use it to figure out the very first, most fundamental target for any business, the break-even point. Think of this as the financial shoreline. It's that point where you've stopped sinking. You're no longer losing money. It's literally the point of survival.
Yeah, the break-even point is your number one survival target. It's that exact moment when all the contribution margin you've earned has perfectly paid off all your fixed costs. You're not making money, sure, but you're not losing it either. And every single sale you make after that point, that's when the real profit starts rolling in.
And the formula to find this magic number? It's actually beautifully simple. You just take your total fixed costs, that big scary number that you have to pay every month no matter what, and you divide it by that contribution margin ratio we just talked about. Boom. That tells you the exact dollar amount in sales you need to hit that zero profit milestone.
All right, theory is one thing, but let's make this real. Let's actually apply this formula to a quick case study. And then we'll build on it to see how you can plan for real profit goals. This is the moment CVP stops being a concept and becomes a real deal planning tool.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We've got a company, and their fixed costs are $100,000 a year. That's their rent, their salaries, you know the drill. And they've done their homework and figured out their contribution margin ratio is 40%. So here's the million-dollar question, or maybe the $100,000 question: how much do they have to sell just to break even?
All right, let's use our formula. We take that 100 grand in fixed costs and we divide it by 40%, or 0.40. And what do we get? $250,000. That's it. That's the magic number. This company needs to hit $250,000 in sales just to cover its own bills.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Here's the proof. Let's just quickly run the numbers. So you've got sales of $250,000. Since the contribution margin is 40%, that means 100 grand is left after your variable costs are paid. And look at that. That $100,000 is exactly what you need to cover your $100,000 in fixed costs. What's left? A big fat zero for operating profit. See? The formula works perfectly. It's so powerful when you see the mechanics laid out like this.
But let's be real. Who gets into business just to break even, right? That's the starting line, not the finish line. The real power of CVP analysis kicks in when you use it to plan for an actual profit target. So how do we tweak the model to aim a little higher? It's actually crazy simple. You just have to think of your profit goal as just another fixed cost that you need to cover. So you literally just add your target profit to your fixed costs. Let's say our company wants to make $50,000 in profit. We just add that to the 100 grand of fixed costs. Our new number to cover is now 150,000. And from there, you just run the exact same calculation. So we take that new number, 150 grand, and we divide it by our good old 40% contribution margin ratio. And the answer is $375,000. That is the exact amount of sales this company needs to not only cover every single cost, but also to walk away with a cool $50,000 in profit. See? Now they have a real, concrete sales target they can actually shoot for.
Okay, before we wrap this up, let me give you a crucial piece of advice that any good consultant would tell you. You have to understand the limitations of your tools. CVP is an amazing tool for sure, but it's built on a handful of assumptions. And knowing what those are is the key to using this thing wisely. The best way to think about these assumptions is like they're the perfect laboratory conditions where the CVP model works flawlessly. Of course, the real world is a lot messier, right? But the model still gives us an incredibly powerful starting point for our strategy, as long as we know where its boundaries are.
So let's quickly go through the fine print. First, the model assumes your prices and costs per unit never change, but in the real world, you might give a bulk discount, or your suppliers might raise prices. Second, it assumes your fixed costs are always, well, fixed. But what if you need to double production? You might need a whole new factory, and that's a massive jump in fixed costs. So the model works best within what we call a relevant range. Third, it kind of assumes you sell every single thing you make, which ignores building up inventory. Look, the point here isn't to say the model is useless. Not at all. The point is to be a smart user. You can run different scenarios, like a high-price, low-volume version versus a low-price, high-volume one, to see how sensitive your business really is.
And really, that's the bottom line. Yeah, it has some simplifying assumptions, but despite that, CVP analysis is an absolutely essential tool. It gives you the power to see the direct financial impact of your strategic choices. It lets you move from just reacting to things to being proactive, because you can finally see exactly how costs, volume, and profit all dance together.
So I'll leave you with this one thought. You have the framework now. You get the levers of cost, volume, and profit. So whether you're thinking about a new product launch, a big pricing change, or your entire business strategy, what's the very first strategic question you're going to answer with this? Thanks for tuning in.